I am continuing from a series I began a while ago. This series, it's the Gospel Simplified. And the Gospel Simplified, the idea or the intent here is that if I can just break down different themes of the Bible, different aspects that repeat over and over and over again, that if you can retain these different components, that no matter where you are in the Bible in your learning or what you see, that you will be able to understand what's going on or have some kind of context to it. Day one, I talked about God. I talked about his sovereignty. He has a plan. He has a purpose. He desires to bring his order from the celestial realm and bring it to this world, to this earth. And he's going to do it through human mediators. In the beginning, he created Adam. And through Adam, his order will fill the earth. Day two, we talked about sin. What happened? Did humankind fill the earth with God's order? No, they broke away. They started to do their own thing. And when it comes to ruling or in sense of order around the world, whose order are we under? In this case, man's. Man's ruling the world by their wisdom as defined by themselves, not by God. And we talked about how wisdom played a major role in this action or the exercise of authority, and how it's very central to what we do, and that's where we are today. Day three, worldly wisdom, and what is that? So, I'm always going to forget this. There we go, boom, that's where we are today. Worldly wisdom. So there's the big picture, all the different components, that's where we are. Okay, boom. First things first, I want you to understand desire. Before we talk about wisdom, you need to understand that there's this cause and effect relationship that begins with desire, shapes your beliefs and what you think, and that starts shaping what you do. Jesus says, out of the heart, the mouth speaks. Cause and effect relationship, out of the heart, cause, the result is what? The mouth speaks. So when we look at desire, what am I talking about? I'm talking about your heart. I'm talking about that central part of who you are. And at your core, who you are is characterized by what you commit to, what you take as the focal point of your life. And what does that do? That starts changing or shaping what you think about. It shapes your worldview. It shapes your planning, whether it's for the day or for your life. And that's where you start seeing faith form. Psychologists would talk about different parts of the brain, and one part's the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is your reasoning center. It's where you do all that rational thinking. And another part of the brain is the limbic system, and this is the more emotional part of your brain. It's the feeling-based part of the brain. It's the irrational part. Yeah, I said that. Okay. Where do they say is your decision-making? They would say 90% of your decision-making takes place in that feeling part of the brain, that emotional part. What does that mean? It means before you even thought about it, you've mostly made up your mind about something. So what you do when it comes to your thinking, now you're trying to justify your desires. You're trying to justify what you want. Or maybe you're trying to reformat or prioritize. You have a confliction of desire, and now you have to prioritize and put it down clearly so you have a clear goal in mind. And what's next? You say you want it. You're telling yourself you should have it. All there's left is to go and do it. Go get it. And that's the action. And the action's behaviors, it's your accomplishments, it's your efforts, whereas the Bible would say it's your works or deeds. Now the Bible wants you to know this, cover to cover, Old Testament, New. In Deuteronomy, the first half of Deuteronomy basically centers on the heart. It's not talking about these deeds, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that. No, it focuses on the heart first. That's the importance. And in James also focuses on this. In fact, he deliberately tells you this is how it works. This outflow of desire, this is how it works. James 1. And this is on the handout, by the way. James 1. But each person is tempted when he is drawn away and enticed by his own evil desire. Then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. So cause and results. The result is sin. What's the cause? Desire. James 2, faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. Show me your faith without works, and I will show you faith by my works. If you don't understand this outflow, there could be some confusion about what this means. He's not saying work harder. He's not saying do more. What is he saying? He's saying there's this natural cause and effect. If you have faith, there's an outflow from that. What's the outflow? It shapes your actions, which means your behavior is a manifestation of something deeper inside. And thus he says, I will show you my faith by my works. That is, by my behaviors, you're going to see a manifestation of something that's deeper inside. Skip James 3 for now. James 4. What is the source of wars and fights among you? Don't they come from your passions that wage war within you? You desire and you do not have. You murder and covet and cannot obtain. You fight and wage war. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and don't receive because you ask with wrong motives, so that you may spend it on your pleasures. Well, what's wrong? Centrally speaking, what's wrong? Your desires, your pleasures. And the cause and effect. What's the cause? Desire. What's the result? War, fighting, murder, covet. Cause, effect. There's this outflow, and it begins with your desires. It begins with your heart. Now, James 3. Who among you is wise and understanding? By his good conduct he should show that his works are done in gentleness that come from wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and selfish ambition in your heart, don't boast and deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where there is envy and selfish ambition, there is disorder and every evil practice. Cause and effect, evil practice. Cause is envy and selfish ambition. So it's in that desire category. But what's more, he starts relating this to wisdom now. In the first sense, we have good conduct, works, done in gentleness that come from what? Wisdom. And in the negative side, if you have evil practices, it's indicative that there is selfish ambition, which shows what? It shows that you are operating within a worldly wisdom. The fact that those are present in your life, one being a manifestation of something deeper, and that deeper, in this case selfish ambition, because it's present, shows that you are operating within a worldly wisdom. You didn't just get up one day and start getting angry at everything. You wanted something. And the fact that you're getting angry, the fact that you're displaying some kind of negative human emotion, some kind of negative human behavior, shows that you are thinking in a worldly way. Cause and effect. So now we can start talking about wisdom. Wisdom, I said human success. What I should say is worldly success. And don't get caught up on the word success to think generically any kind of success you may have. When I say success, what am I talking about? I'm talking about that success that's fueled by selfish ambition. And there's different components to this worldly success. The first one is that there's an emphasis on accomplishment. That is to say, there's something that we deem as successful. This is what success looks like. And so if I'm over here, what do I need to do to get it? What do I need to accomplish to get it? And if you have it, if you're successful, you're a hero. You're a celebrity. And you're a role model to the rest of us. But if you don't have it, what are you? You're worthless. Which brings to the second point, that your self-esteem depends on success. You're gaining, you're working your way towards this successful image, your self-esteem goes up. Or you're not gaining, you're losing things. Your self-esteem, your self-worth is going down. So you're trying to seek value, you're trying to seek peace and satisfaction through the things you're doing as you're obtaining this successful status. And last component, You're expected to participate. You're expected to run the rat race. If you don't, you're foolish. You're weird. Something's not right with you. You're, from a worldly perspective, lacking wisdom. So what are these things that we pursue? What are these things that we deem as successful? The first one's easy. You should see it coming. It's wealth. I'm going to present to you two options. And you tell me, do you want to be the guy who lives in a mansion and eats like a king every day? Or do you want to be the poor guy who lives in a box and I cannot guarantee when you will eat? You decide which one you want. And then tell me, which one speaks success? And which one are you envious of? Are you envious of the guy who lives in a box? Said no one ever. And another one, I said security. That is longevity, this idea of being able to preserve. It's like your health. And again, options. Do you want to live your next 18 years in a wheelchair, strapped with a bunch of tubes and hooked up to a machine? Or do you want to live till you're 85 and be running and jumping and playing with the great-grandkids as if you were age 20? Which one speaks success? Which one are you envious of? Is anyone envious of the person in the wheelchair? And then there's status. That is this hierarchy, the authority scale, the pecking order. Do you have people's respect? Do you want to be the CEO? Maybe the President of the United States or something? Or do you want to be the guy, age 40, working at McDonald's? Are you envious? Which one? Which one's successful? Which one says that is successful? He's making it in life. Capabilities. Are you strong? Are you intelligent? Are you skillful, proficient? Arnold Schwarzenegger? Wimpy kid. Envious? Anyone? Einstein? The guy who works at a cafe shop and is not counting your cash correctly. Can't do math. Envious? Anyone? Attractiveness. Do you draw people's attention? Do you have that charisma? Are you physically attractive? Do you have all the beauty in the world? Are you obese and by social standards even ugly? Which one are you envious of? Which one speaks success with just one look? Which brings me to another point. You're thinking, okay, beauty, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and it's subjective and whatever. Yeah, sure, maybe. If you go to Africa, they judge beauty. I believe there's a tribe that they judge beauty by their earlobes. And they have to weigh down their earlobes, and the longer those earlobes are, the more attractive they are. That's not what we do. But guess what? There is a standard for beauty in both cultures. It looks differently, it's expressed differently, but it's there. There is a standard for success. It looks different, but it's there. Maybe you don't want to live in a mansion. Maybe you just want that humble cottage in the woods. Maybe that's what success looks like to you, but it's there. So now it brings me to my last one, which is virtue. By virtue, I mean good works or good morals. And again, if you want to be like an atheist, you have some kind of standard for good morality. There's a good way to conduct yourself in this world. And compare that with Christianity or all religious organizations. We have religious doctrine, standards for morality. And success is based on what? How well you can accomplish these things. Success is established by how well you can live up to these doctrines. And if you are successful, you're a role model. You're a celebrity. You're the hero of the faith. And if you're not successful, you're a worthless sinner. What's the problem? The problem is the heart. The problem is the heart's ambition. The problem is we're going to make these distinctions, set ourselves apart from everyone else. It's a us versus them mentality. So what makes us distinctive from them? And it doesn't matter if your doctrine celebrates a monergistic belief, that is, it's God alone, Christ alone, grace alone, faith alone. It doesn't matter if that's your doctrine, you are still going to be looking around. Your heart is going to find a way to distinguish itself through accomplishments. That is to say, your heart is going to go wherever you go. You want to celebrate true doctrine? Great. But your heart's still there. It has selfish ambition, and it's looking for ways. It's trying to find ways to glorify itself. And it's going to do that through accomplishments. So here's what I'm not saying. What I'm not saying is go sell everything, become a monk, go live in the mountains. That's silly. You're doing the same thing. All I would do if I said that is create a new culture, redefine what success looks like. But guess what? There's an accomplishment. What do you need to do to be successful? Sell everything, live in the mountain, become a monk. That's easy. I can do that. I can do that. But the problem is not what we have and what we don't have. The problem is our heart. The problem is that we're trying to place hope in these things, that we're trying to pursue these things. We think that if we commit ourselves to these things, commit our lives to these things, they're going to provide for us in some way. They're going to give us a sense of completion, peace, satisfaction. And if getting these things is what is successful, if our peace and satisfaction is based on getting these things, then everything we want, everything we're pursuing, everything we're basing our happiness on is temporary. It's fragile. It's limited. Or did you think it would last forever? Did you think you can actually obtain these things and it'll last forever? Did you not know that God's kingdom is coming to this world? But in order for God to bring his kingdom to this world, he has to make this world new. He has to destroy it and make it new. Which means everything, all human accomplishments, all human success, he has to put an end to it. He has to put an end to it to bring something new, to bring something of the eternal realm. Everything you have, it stops there. And yet that's what we pursue. That's what we go after. And how do you know you're pursuing these things? How do you know you're placing your hope in these, your trust in these things? It just circles right back around. You're going to display it. It's going to be in the behavior. It's going to be through anger. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be anxious or worried. These are negative human behaviors, and you're going to display them. And they indicate what? They indicate some kind of want, which indicates that you're within a worldly wisdom, which indicates that you're placing your hope in these things. So as you get angry, as you get sad, whatever this negative human emotion is, or a negative human behavior, there's your check engine light. You are now operating under worldly wisdom, and you've placed your hope in these things. And let's just say you get it. Again, let's just say you get it. Now what? God's going to come with his kingdom. You're saying, look what I have. Look at what I've gained. Are you going to take it with you to the eternal realm? You're going to live with your success forever? One day it won't matter. When God's kingdom comes, it will not matter what you have and what you don't have. It simply will not matter. So the question I have for you is, why does it matter now? If it won't matter in the forever, if it won't matter in the eternal scope, why does it matter right now that you have to become so worked up about, so upset, so invested? You're going to have the poor man, he's going to come to God. You're going to have the rich man, he's going to come to God. And you know what God's going to see between the two of these? No distinction. And you're going to have the most attractive person, wherever that even looks like, and you're going to have the most unattractive person, and both are going to come to God. And he's going to see no distinction. And you're going to have this wonderful pastor, preacher guy, does many wonderful things. He cast out demons in the Lord's name. He does healing in the Lord's name. And then you're going to have a criminal, a thug. They're going to both come to God, and he's going to see no distinction. What does God see? He sees that there are those who belong to him and those who don't. And the more we get to see what God sees, and that is as we start seeing the world through his perspective, then we can start to understand a wisdom that comes from above, a heavenly wisdom. And that is what I hope to cover within the days to come, that we will uncover a little more about what this heavenly wisdom looks like. But to give you a quick answer now, there's Ecclesiastes 12:13, which is the conclusion of Ecclesiastes. When all has been heard, the conclusion is fear God. What is fear God? Guess what? It's in that first category, the desire category. Fear is in that first category. And what else? Proverbs 1:7. The fear of the Lord is what? The beginning of knowledge. A heavenly wisdom begins there. But we'll cover that more and more. As far as the handout, if you look at the bottom, there's these verses. I know I didn't go much into verses, but this is the backbone for what I have to say. This is the backbone for everything I've said. I would say give it a read, especially the ones I've underlined. There's Psalms 49, Matthew 6:19 through 21, John 12:25, Romans 6:6, and then the rest. It's all there. It's all there. It's all telling you what a worldly wisdom operates, what that looks like. It tells us that we are committed to that, but it also tells us there's something greater. I'm going to do something a little unique. With that said, I want to open up to you guys. I want to open up the floor for questions. I know that there's a lot in here, and it was very condensed. I hope I didn't skim over anything, or maybe I didn't explain something. So I want to open up for questions. Does this make sense to everyone? Is there any questions on this? I'm not that good. You can't convince me. I don't remember what I put on this one because I use a Logos system, and I think it's the ESV that this one is. But the one I physically have is the NASB. No. There's questions. I know there are. Okay, how about comments? Did this resonate with someone? Is there something that someone would like to share as far as this making sense to them? Or expand on this?
Let's go to the two spheres of that overlap, where we are still of the world, and we're saved, and we are still going to have, we won't always show heavenly wisdom.
So your question is, in terms of, do we like perfect?
Well,
Right. So in terms of like a perfect display versus, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'll scope the question as, well, doesn't it matter? Like, isn't there in some way that it matters what we do or not do? And to that, I will say there's a yes and no component. Let me start with the why it does not matter. You look at the cross where as Jesus was crucified, and next to him there was a man. This man said, "Remember me," and the Lord said, "This day you will be in heaven." In terms of everything that human success believes, everything, especially in the religious sense of good morals, this guy is dying a criminal. He had nothing. There's nothing that speaks human success in this case. So God is showing that there's something more than what we accomplish. And think of, it's in Luke, I believe, 17, where there's this parable and there's this Pharisee, and he's saying, "I thank God that I'm not like other men." And he starts listing his accomplishments. And then right next to him is the tax collector. And this tax collector doesn't even look up. He just says, "Forgive me, I'm a sinner." He's acknowledging there is no accomplishment, there is nothing he can do, even in a religious sense, that can mean something in an eternal perspective. He has nothing to offer to God. So in the case of wisdom and playing this out, on one sense, there is a wisdom. It plays out in your life. It's real. But it's not an accomplishment. Wisdom doesn't come from you looking at some kind of success or accomplishment from yourself. What is it from? a foreign righteousness. What is it from? It's from an accomplishment or success that's not your own. And from there, you start to gain wisdom. So here's where it becomes a yes. In terms of yes in how does it work its way in your life, starts with desire, right? If there's a desire for God, it works its way and starts shaping what you believe and your understanding of the world. And that understanding of the world then shapes what? What you do. Is it perfect? Of course not, but it's not based on your accomplishments anyways. You have that freedom to desire God, and you have that freedom for it to work out into your life. It is there. And God gives each person a measure of faith, right? So he measures out how well this looks within you. But what's the success? That God touched your life. That's the success. That's the accomplishment. Do you belong to God or do you not? And how do you belong to God? God's fingerprints are going to be in your life. It's going to start with desire, and it's just going to flow outward. Any other questions? I can't be that clear. You can't, but that's okay. I'll pray, we'll close, and I'll be wandering around if you do have questions. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for everything you've done. From the beginning, you've proclaimed your glory. You've put yourself on display. You've constantly been revealing yourself to us, and yet we're distracted. We are still looking for something to do to gain our own glory. We're still constantly looking and pursuing at other things. We're trying to establish our kingdom here on earth, but you want to establish your kingdom. You're going to destroy all human kingdoms so that you can establish something greater than what we have. But we, in our flesh and our wisdom, we're fighting to preserve our own kingdom, to fight for our own things, the things that matter to us that don't even mean anything to you. You are proclaiming, you're revealing your glory, your accomplishments, everything that you do, your plan and purpose. May you continue to reveal that to us, that you may shape us according to your will. Amen.